How's it going, Plant Heroes? Plant Hero Call here today with the hero guide for plant maintenance gear. You saw me earlier rocking our official Plant Hero cape that I made for Halloween one year, but this is going to be, a summary of all the stuff that I use daily on the job and that I really recommend because I love it. And the things that, maybe if you're just starting out, you might want to pick a couple of these things up. If you're more advanced, some of these tips will still help you out. And I'm going to cut right to the chase here. I am rocking a Twitch t-shirt because they're one of our clients. Actually, we maintain the plants in their office in San Francisco, and they have shown some appreciation to us. I wanted to rep them, and I always have a good time when I'm in their space. They have some beautiful plants, but a lot of this stuff is the stuff I use in their office. So join for the fun, and hopefully we can level up your plant care. We've got quite a list here today, probably like 20, 30 items. So we're gonna try and blaze through it and drop some knowledge on you, help you grow. And if you have any questions on any of this, drop that in the comments. If you have any gear that you recommend that isn't in here, please by all means share the knowledge. And if you find any of this useful, drop some fertilizer on that like button, subscribe to become a Plant Hero 2. We are doing a giveaway right now, you can see in one of the previous videos. And basically, if you comment on this video or any one of my future ones as we stretch towards 1,000 followers, 1,000 Plant Heroes, then you have an entry to this giveaway. So that's it for now. Let's get to the gear. Okay, so in this video, we're going to cover 5 main topics. 1 is going to be care. 2 is going to be maintenance. 3 is going to be making sure you have the right settings. 4 is going to be pests. And 5 is going to be some kind of finishing touches, things that really take your plants to the next level. Now, in these lists, I've got probably 10 things for each one, so I'm gonna try and rapid fire it for you, and we'll see, we can get through it all. All right, here we go. So number 1, and most importantly these days, is a plant mask, because I want you all to be plant heroes out in the world, not just in your house where you care for your plants. I got 2 different kinds on Etsy. This one actually I really like. It goes around and then tightens, and it's got a little loop so it stays up, but it doesn't smother you. And it's got some Monstera leaves on it. All right, so that's a plant mask. And then obviously we're gonna go into just basic stuff. These are the buckets that we like to use. You can find them at probably any nursery or something like that, but what we actually do is we cut the tip here for better water flow, and then we cut the opening here so that you can fill it up better in the sink. So those are 2 little quick tips for you. Another thing you're gonna need is a duster of some sort. I like these microfibers because they don't wick the dust all over your house, but you can use a feather duster if you want, or even a piece of an old towel, a rag, or something like that. Just, you want to keep the leaves dust free. And then also, if you do have some sort of insect issue, you can actually apply some, insecticidal soap and wipe down the leaves with it. But 2 things that'll definitely be in your toolkit that you'll be happy you have. Next is going to be scissors. So any sort of scissors will work, but I would recommend getting some alcohol wipes. That way you can kind of clean them after every use. That way you're not transferring maybe some issue from one plant to another. I like to keep them in my little pouch here. I'm going to talk about these in a second, but this is kind of my run and gun sort of mode. And this and 2 buckets and I'm ready to go. This is actually how I walk into Twitch, but I wear a little bit more of a professional shirt. So that's scissors, and You're gonna need some pruners probably too if you have larger plants. If you only had small stuff like this, I wouldn't worry about it too much, but these are Felco Pruners. They're, in my opinion, the best in the industry. You know, again, keep them clean, and you know, they should serve you well for, you know, 50 years probably. They're built to last. So that's that. I'm showing you right now these little pouches. This is called the Bucket Boss. So this is a little pouch that I can keep on my belt, and it has some of the tools I need, the scissors I mentioned, and then I actually like to keep a flashlight in here. That way I can see down into the bottom of the grow pot, know what's going on, and also bring some twisties with me, because you never know when you're gonna need to tie a plant up on the spot, and I don't wanna run down to my van to go get the tools I need. So that's that pouch. And then Bucket Boss also makes this. It's a little pruner clip. I keep a pen on there too, but this way your pruners don't stab you and you have everything you need, because there's nothing worse than showing up, finding, you know, a big branch that needs to be pruned, and then you gotta wait to do it or something like that. Another thing that I would recommend if you're more new to the game is a plant app. So I'm gonna link it on the screen, maybe just put it on here. But basically what you do is you snap a picture of a plant, say, you know, you're not sure what type of plant this is, or it's got some issue, you know, the brown leaves. These apps will actually help you diagnose and, you know, figure out what's going wrong, tell you maybe for a specific plant what water needs it has, something like that, and help level you up to that pro level. I would also have some fertilizer. We like to keep our fertilizer in these little tubs, and then each tub has a little spoon in it. This is just a neutral balance fertilizer of, I think it's like 20-20-20, but different plants have different needs, so you're gonna want to, you know, maybe use that plant app actually, and figure out exactly what your plant needs. Okay, so next we're gonna talk about setting. You wanna make sure that you're giving your plant the right conditions. A couple things that the pros might use, you might not have to use this, but we use sometimes moisture meters. You can see here, you just stick it into the soil, it's a probe, and it uses electrostatic something or other to tell how much, you know, moisture is in the soil deeper down than your fingers can get. Helpful for larger plants. They make a couple different types. This one's actually kind of handy. It's got a little cord, and you know, you can move around to different plants pretty easily. Another thing that we use sometimes, maybe mostly when we're speccing a job, is this light meter I showed in a previous video, but this will show you, you know, you hold it up to the light and it gives you a measurement in foot candles or lux, and it kind of helps you figure out, you know, is this space bright enough for the plant? Again, the plant app usually will tell you, oh, this is, you know, how many foot candles this certain type of plant needs. Okay, and on the same vein of like checking the light conditions, making sure the moisture's right, you can actually get a hydrometer, and that'll tell you exactly how much humidity is in the air. Some plants like it really humid. I know calatheas definitely do, philodendrons, stuff like that. But if you don't have enough humidity, you're gonna wanna maybe get a humidifier and add it to your little plant corner, give those plants a little extra tropical, you know, where they came from sort of feel. If you don't wanna get a humidifier, another option that you have is to knock over your snake plant. No, don't do that. Another option you have is to get a little spray bottle or mister. These are really good because you can mist your plants, keep them, you know, get that tropical feel like I was saying, but also if you wanted to mix up some insecticidal soap or something, you can give the plant a nice spray down. It'll help, you know, get into those nooks and crannies that you can't get to if you're just wiping with a cloth. And one final note on setting, you can actually buy light bulbs that will act as grow lights. They produce the right spectrum of light for your plants to thrive. So if you have a darker space, but you still want to make that fiddly fig happen, maybe pop a couple lights up in the corner, give it that extra bit of light, and it could make all the difference. So do some research on that. It's not always necessary. If you have some windows, usually that can be enough, but I get a lot of people asking, can my fiddle leaf fig live in this corner? And the answer is sometimes no, but if you add some lights, maybe you can make it happen. Okay, and I spoke about this earlier, but I like to keep these twist ties with me. We use these Vigoro plant ties. They are pretty useful. Some people like to use a Velcro sort of thing, but I like to use the Vigoro because they have a little bit of a wire inside, so you can actually work with them a little better. Say you need to tie a plant up, instead of just staking it, which I'll talk about in a second, but say you need to tie a plant up, to itself. This is actually kind of our most recommended way. You take two opposite corners that are, growing away from each other, and then you give them a little tie. I think you might be able to see here. If you can't see that, I will put it up on the screen, but, kind of pull them together and use the opposite tension to straighten the plant up and make it look beautiful again. Okay, and I was just talking about stakes. This is what we use. They're metal stakes. They're, they come in all sorts of sizes and girths, but these are nice because you can actually break them. So with these small ones, I could actually, bend it on my knee and snap it. Just bend it back and forth and it'll snap. These bigger ones are a little tougher, but if you have, a 6-foot fiddle leaf fig, this is what's gonna help you keep it straight. So you just stake it into the soil, and then you use the twist ties, tie the branch you want to it, and you're back to vertical. So in any good plant care place, you're gonna have some extra soil probably, some extra grow pots, some extra saucers. This way you're ready for whatever you need. Say you need to repot a plant up into a bigger pot, or if you just want to give it a temporary home, sometimes these saucers are good. Or if you are doing some repotting, you can put some soil in a saucer, put the plant in another, and really kind of work between the two and keep your workplace clean. But what we actually do is we leave the plants in their grow pots, and then we'll saucer them. And then this all, let's try it with a real plant. Plant in grow pot, in a saucer, and then in the decorative container. That way you always know how much water is in there. And if you have too much, you could suck it out with a turkey baster, which I intend to talk about right now. Another kitchen tool that is very handy, if there's extra water in there, you don't want to have to pull the whole thing out and reset it. But, it's just little tips, tricks of the trade that help us, work efficiently and do our best job. On the note of keeping your area clean, we really like these blue tubs. You can buy them in any color, you can buy them anywhere, Home Depot. But if you're doing some dirty work, you can kind of keep the plant in here, make a big mess, and then, dump it where you need to. It's also really good to, if a plant has too much water in it, you just pour the water into here instead of taking the whole plant outside and doing that whole dealio. But just good to have. I keep one in my van, and they actually store 2 buckets in them. So it's kind of bucket storage for, if I still have some water in my buckets, that way they don't splash around and spill. A note about the soil. So this is garden soil. This is more for an outdoor planter. If you do have indoor plants, you might want to research specifically what that plant needs, because sometimes they need, faster draining soil or soil that'll hold more moisture. But this is just an example. To be completely honest, any soil is better than no soil. You just might have to adjust your watering if you, if you repot a plant that has, more moisture holding soil, you might need to water it less. So it's all about adjusting as you go. If you really want to get spendy, Happy Frog is a great soil brand. I know they use it in a lot of grow operations, if you will, but it's packed with nutrients, and A lot of the time when you repot, the soil, the fresh soil actually has enough nutrients for the plant. You won't need to fertilize for, 5 or 6 months. So just be careful of that, not to fertilize too much on the repotting note. If you were to, take this, pot it up into a bigger pot, there's not actually roots in all that extra soil yet. So you're gonna wanna water more carefully. Make sure you soak the root ball of the plant, not just dump a bunch of water in there, because the soil on the outside is gonna stay wet, and that could cause a rotty condition, which is not what we... I don't have it set up here, but over there in the greenhouse, we have a potting bench. You want a surface you can work on that, you can maybe make a mess on, something that, I like to not be sitting on the floor when I'm working with my plants, but that or even a drop cloth might be something to consider. If you're really dedicated to becoming a plant hero, get yourself a potting bench. Some of them even have nice little, stash spots. I think I showed you my little rectangle conference type table over there, and those are perfect potting benches, perfect room to work, and easy, mess-free, good to go. While you're repotting, a couple helpful things to have are tools for the job, definitely a trowel. If you're using bigger plants, this definitely helps move the soil around. But if you're working with like small succulents or something, just a spoon from your kitchen is gonna be perfect. And this is also good for if you are putting like some small pebbles or rocks on top of a succulent arrangement, you can scoop them and then dump them and pour them a little more precisely. One other thing is a funnel. So this can be helpful if you really want to do precise, pouring. You can pour rocks or soil into the funnel and, really direct the flow to where you need it to go. On that note of precision, sometimes you have a small plant or a delicate situation, so having a smaller water can with like a very tiny spout is sometimes helpful, or even a little like squeeze bottle. I know like restaurant squeeze bottles are pretty good, the ones they use for condiments. That way you can precisely water exactly what you want, don't make a mess, and have a little more control over the situation. Another thing that we like to use, if you need to, cut a branch off quickly, slice it nice and precise, you can use a razor knife or a box cutter. This is also really good for cutting grow pots. If your plant is way overgrown and root bound and you can't get it out of the grow pot, a lot of these, just a couple slices and you're good to go. Sometimes you have a bigger job though. It's nice to have a little hand saw. This way, say you've got some roots that you can't get out and you just want to pull out one section that didn't do so well of a plant, you can actually kind of go in and, cut around in a little circle, pull that area out, and you're good to go. But on that note, 2 pieces of gear I definitely recommend are gloves. And I like these waterproof gloves. They're waterproof all the way up to the wrist, and they have a little grip on them, so you don't lose your plant when you're trying to hold it. If you're working with a dirty situation or sticky situation, this is for sure helpful. Also, dealing with pests, it's nice to have the gloves and not get your hands all mucked up. But make sure you wash them, because you don't want to keep the pests on the gloves and then they transfer. These gloves though, I'm a sucker for, Amazon suggesting, but they actually have little claws on them. And if you're, just kind of working with something and you want to, scratch away at it and kind of like move soil around, these come in handy. More if you're out in the garden though, not as much with the interior plants, but sometimes you've got a big planter and you just need to dig that one piece out, and those gloves are perfect for it. Okay, next up is propagation. If you have your plants, they're doing well, and you actually want to take a cutting from one, maybe give it to a friend. You definitely should do that, by the way. Everyone loves getting plants, but you're gonna want some kind of clear glass containers. Amazon sells propagation stations. They're, a bunch of little beakers all in a line, and that way you can see the roots as they're forming. You can use anything though. This is for bigger plants. If it's a small cutting, you could use something like this. But you want to, make sure that the whole plant is getting light and feeling like, hey, I want to shoot out some roots and grow a new, piece of myself, basically. But it helps when you're propagating to keep those cuttings in, a warm, perfectly lit situation. That way they have the best chance to thrive in the future. On propagation, you definitely want to have, well, I wouldn't say definitely because sometimes we don't use it, but it can make or break the situation to have growth hormone or rooting hormone. Now you can find this at any plant nursery probably or online, but what you do is when you have a fresh cutting, you dip it in a little bit of that. It's kind of like a powdery sort of substance, and it gives it that burst of hormone that says, I'm gonna pop out some new roots right here. So little tip, I would definitely recommend it if you're gonna get into propagation and get a whole propagation station and whatnot. Okay, and a couple quick tips for cleaning up your plants. We like to use Leaf-Tek. It's a safe, solution that lifts and removes dust. You can spray it on with one of those spray bottles I was talking about, or wet a cloth and wipe each one of the leaves. But that'll help, keep it clean without, damaging the plant. If you are doing some repotting, we recommend definitely having a Dustpan and Broom. Kind of essential, no-brainer, but you definitely don't want to be sitting there with a pile of soil and trying to get it into your hands. It's not going to work very well. On the same note as the Leaf-Tek, a couple other things that we like to use. Don't chastise me for this, but Windex sometimes can be good, because what Windex does is it actually evaporates. That's what it was designed to do. And, so you can kind of clean the plant up, or we actually use it for spider mites, because what it does is it breaks up the webbing and it kills the spider mites that it can get to, and it can get into those little nooks and crannies that I was talking about that, you could never wipe. But a better option, potentially, if your bug infestation is bad, is Safari. I've only found it in these bigger containers, but I'm sure you can find it online. You can spray it on the plant or mix it into the soil as a systemic, and that'll treat most plant pests. So mealybug, scale, thrips, these are all things that, you should definitely remove manually with that little cloth and some soap or rubbing alcohol. But if it's bad, you want to get to the root of the problem and just obliterate all the pests, you want to use some Safari. But, up to you whether you want to use kind of more of a, chemical-ish sort of treatment. If you don't want to use Safari, you can use dish soap mixed with water. Warm water is good, and a little bit of rubbing alcohol in there, and that'll kind of, act in the same way. Safari is definitely stronger, but that'll still work. And I actually recently found that you can use hydrogen peroxide in soil if you have a little bit of rot or fungus gnat infestation. It'll kind of cleanse the soil, and apparently it doesn't hurt the plant. So if anyone knows about that, drop thoughts in the comments, because I have never done it. I'm a little wary to do so. Okay, and on the same note of the Safari and the fungus gnats, if you do have a fungus gnat infestation, I would probably take my plant outside and spray it with Raid. That'll kill all of the flying ones around. You might want to use more of a systemic if you want to kill the little larva that's in the soil. What they do is they go in, burrow, lay their eggs, and even if you kill the flying ones, the eggs will still come out eventually. So if you have fungus gnats, you're going to want to do like a 3-part treatment. Well, 4. 1, you're going to want to keep it dry. 2, you're going to want to kill the flying ones or trap them. You can use these traps. They're little yellow sticky traps, and and they catch the flies, and this is a non-toxic way to remove them. And then you're going to want to get something into the soil to remove the little larva in there, because otherwise you're just going to be dealing with them forever. And then once you've cleaned your plant up and it's gnat free, you want to make sure you don't have any more issues. This is called Gnat Knix. It's like a little crystal sort of solution that what it does is it stops them, it creates a barrier on top of the soil, and it stops them from burrowing down. So it kind of protects the plant from having future issues. But number one, keep it dry. Some final things on finishing touches. Once you have your plant, you know, in its grow pot, saucered, in the decorative container, we like to moss them, you know, to kind of hide the grow pot a little bit and so you don't look right down into the soil. If you realize your plant doesn't fit your grow pot, you know, say, I mean, this is just silly, but you know, something like this, no, let's not do that. Let's pretend that this is your decorative container, beautiful decorative container, and this is the plant you want to put in it, but it's going to sit all the way down there, and that's not what you want. What we like to do is use some hard foam in the bottom to lift it up, and then what you would do is saucer the plant on top of the foam, and then it's going to sit right up where you want it, you know, have some room to breathe. And let's say you want to moss it and really finish the job nice and proper like. What we use is soft foam. So there's going to be a gap a lot of the time between your grow pot and your decorative container. But if you put a little foam in there, then the moss that I'm going to show you has something to kind of sit on and, you know, not fall down and get wet and mucky. And that'll actually keep the plant more sturdy if someone bumps it or something, or if you need to move it. You know, never want to see your plant tip over and fall down. So if you keep it secure, you'll be set for success. This is the moss we use. I like the green moss because it gives kind of even more life to the setup. But you can buy gray, brown, any sort of moss. But you just want to make sure that not much of it falls down into the container too much, because if it gets mucky, it might get rotty. But you know, again, you can find this online or at any store. But it adds that like finishing touch that says, hey, I went the extra mile to make sure my space looks great. All right, well, thanks for joining on that marathon. Hopefully some of this helped you out in figuring out what you might need. I'm gonna try and drop some links down in the description to where you could acquire some of this stuff, but you know, pick and choose based on what you actually need for your space. Some of it is a little more specialized, and some of it you can actually kind of craft at home or find at home in your kitchen or, you know, around the house. So we definitely advise, you know, using things that you already have, but if there's something that you're like, oh, I need that, then go ahead and click one of those links, because that will support our channel, help us actually continue producing these videos. And definitely drop some comments down below on things that you liked in here, things you maybe disagree with, because I want to open the discussion for everyone. I want you to tell me, you know, how I'm doing and what you think about some of this stuff. So drop some fertilizer on that like button if you enjoyed this, subscribe, comment to enter that giveaway, and why not go check out Twitch, because, you know, they're an awesome company doing awesome things, creating some entertainment value for people. I, at one point, was thinking I should start a Twitch stream of me taking care of plants in different offices and stuff, but then I ran into some thoughts on you know, NDA copyright issues, and I don't want to, you know, go around showing off offices and, you know, sensitive material. But I will do my best to drop all my knowledge for you, and if you join in, we can all gather and grow together.